Hi, and welcome back to the Make It Accessible tutorial series. Today we're talking all things transcripts. Are you making a podcast or videos for your small business? If you are, then today's video is for you. Let's jump in. If you are making video or audio content, then you are likely familiar with transcripts. And as you continue to work to make your brand more inclusive, these are things you need to be aware of. If you are not familiar with transcripts though, just imagine you have a video or an audio file. A transcript is a written version of everything said in that file. And it would also include descriptions of any important sounds or visuals. So why are transcripts so important? Well, they can help a number of different people. For instance, it can help those with hearing impairments, allowing them to be able to read along with the audio or the video. They can also provide visual content for those with vision impairments. So adding audio descriptions can help them visualize important elements that they can't see. Transcripts can also make content easier to find. As we know, search engines read text, which allows things to be more discoverable. Also, if you've ever been in a noisy area, or maybe you commute on trains or buses, and you know being in noisy areas, you can't always listen to content if you don't have headphones or earbuds. So that is another reason why transcripts are important for those people to be able to consume content in different environments. And lastly, some people just prefer to read and some people learn better through reading. So offering transcripts is a great way to make sure that people, despite their abilities or the environment they're in, they can still consume your content. So to help you understand the importance of transcripts, today we're going to pretend that we just made a video about how to make the best homemade pizza ever. Now, you haven't seen this video, you only have access to the transcript. So let's see how your experience is with your initial transcript, and then at the end on how much better you can understand what's happening in the video by having access to an accessible transcript. Okay, so you've made your podcast or your video, and now you're in your editor. You're probably in YouTube, Descript, Vimeo, doesn't matter what platform. In there, you're going to find a place to either upload or generate transcripts. If you are not auto-generating your transcripts, you need to be. It will save you so much time. But with this comes editing. So you're going to have the option to either view your transcript by timestamp or by text. You're going to want to jump into text mode so you can start editing it. Here's our sample starter transcript on how to make the best homemade pizza. Now, every editor is a little different and has different features, but if you are using YouTube, for instance, to auto-generate your transcripts, this is how it's going to populate. So there is some work you're going to have to do. As you can see visually, for anyone who's hearing impaired or maybe in a noisy area and reading the transcript or just preferring to read transcripts, you can see visually there's some things to improve that we could do to improve the reading experience. But also, let's listen to how a screen reader would read this aloud to someone using assistive technology.
Welcome pizza lovers, today we're showing you how to make the ultimate homemade pizza. That's right, we'll cover everything from dough to toppings. First, let's talk about the dough. We're using a simple recipe. You'll need flour, water, yeast, salt, and olive oil. Here's the flour and now the water. Remember, the water should be lukewarm to activate the yeast. And now we need the dough. This is important for a good crust. You want it smooth and elastic like this. Now we let it rise. We'll cover it and let it sit for about an hour while the dough rises. Let's make the sauce. We're using crushed tomatoes, garlic, and herbs. A little sugar helps balance the acidity of the tomatoes, and don't forget the basil. It adds a great flavor. Now for the fun part, toppings. We're using pepperoni, mushrooms, and bell peppers. First we stretch out the dough, then we add the sauce and the cheese. Now the toppings. Feel free to get creative. Into the oven it goes. We're baking at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. It should take about 15 to 20 minutes, and here it is. Our homemade pizza looks delicious. Let's give it a try. Perfect crust and flavor. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your homemade pizza.
Whew! So you can see just as a human would read, and you're not getting proper punctuation to kind of pause when you're reading, that is how a screen reader would be reading this. Step 1 to improving your transcript is simple. Use proper grammar and punctuation. So you'll need to go through your transcript and ensure that every sentence starts with an uppercase letter, use commas and periods when appropriate, and make sure all of your spelling is correct. That in itself is going to 10 times improve the experience that someone has when they're accessing your transcript. Because you need to remember someone is reading this, so it should read like any other content. It should read like anything else that someone's accessing, whether it's something online, a blog post, or a book, or a recipe, or instructions. It should be that easy for them to read. So visually you can see here the improvements that have been made. So let's take a listen to how the screen reader would read this now.
Welcome, pizza lovers. Today, we're showing you how to make the ultimate homemade pizza. That's right. We'll cover everything from dough to toppings. First, let's talk about the dough. We're using a simple recipe. You'll need flour, water, yeast, salt, and olive oil. Here's the flour and now, the water. Remember, the water should be lukewarm to activate the yeast. And now, we need the dough. This is important for a good crust. You want it smooth and elastic, like this. Now, we let it rise. We'll cover it and let it sit for about an hour. While the dough rises, let's make the sauce. We're using crushed tomatoes, garlic, and herbs. A little sugar helps balance the acidity of the tomatoes. And don't forget the basil. It adds a great flavor. Now for the fun part, toppings. We're using pepperoni, mushrooms, and bell peppers. First, we stretch out the dough. Then, we add the sauce. And the cheese. Now, the toppings. Feel free to get creative. Into the oven it goes. We're baking at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. It should take about 15 to 20 minutes. And here it is. Our homemade pizza. Looks delicious. Let's give it a try. Perfect crust and flavor. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your homemade pizza.
So see how much that improved that experience of listening to that text versus our initial starter transcript? It's important to note that your transcript should match the audio of your video or podcast verbatim. This means all of the all those icky things that we like to delete should initially be included. Now, if you are going for that dramatic pause, then that should remain. But if it is truly just like your cadence and the way that you kind of work through your thoughts, then go ahead and delete them because that's not going to improve the user experience. Now, if something in the video is hard to understand, if someone is mumbling or there's other noises conflicting with the audio, in square brackets you want to put unaudible or unintelligible, just so that those people who are reading the captions and the transcript can understand what's happening in the video, and that there may be a part that is they're not able to understand. And then also, if people are speaking maybe in using acronyms, you want to be sure to break that acronym down in square brackets, because not everybody is in your same industry and might understand the lingo. So to improve their experience and understanding of your content, be sure to break those down in square brackets. Do you know that there are 2 people in our pizza making video? If you only had access to the transcript, which you currently only do, you might not have realized this. So it is important to indicate who is speaking during a podcast presentation or video that has multiple people. Obviously, if you're the only one in the content, you don't need to worry about this step. But if there are multiple people, be sure to indicate who is speaking when. And you do that by just including their name at the beginning and then what they're saying in quotation marks. Now be sure and check with your particular editor, because some editors do help you with this step. You can sometimes plug in people's names and then it will automatically identify people, and then you just visually need to check the transcript to make sure that it did populate correctly. But it will save you a lot of time if you are working in a more advanced editor that allows this. Well, let's just take a listen to just a snippet of our transcript that now includes the speakers being identified.
Host, welcome, pizza lovers. Today, we're showing you how to make the ultimate homemade pizza. Chef, that's right. We'll cover everything from dough to toppings. Host, first, let's talk about the dough. We're using a simple recipe. Chef, you'll need flour, water, yeast, salt, and olive oil. Host, here's the flour and now, the water. Chef, remember, the water should be lukewarm to activate the yeast. Host, and now, we need the dough. This is important for a good crust.
So now you know that there are 2 people in our video. There is a host and a chef. adding timestamps and chapter markers is another thing to consider while you're working on your transcript. If you recall from the beginning of the video, we said you can generally view your transcript by timestamp or in text. So your editor is likely going to at least produce the timestamps for you. I honestly have yet to meet an editor that does not do this. They're generally added every 15 to 30 seconds, and these will be in square brackets. Your chapter markers, however, you may need to take a look at or add yourself. And this is important, for instance, for a video like our pizza making one here, to break down the video into segments or chapters so that people can quickly jump or reference a section if they need to. So here on the screen, we're showing that same portion of the transcript that we just listened to, but we added timestamps and chapter markers. Now visually here, we have these in bold and in a different color font, but you do not need to do this in your transcript. This is just for those who visually are looking at the video, can see where we did this. So we added right at the very top in square brackets, 0100 or 00:00 in square brackets, and then the word introduction, because that's the beginning of our video. Now your screen readers are going to read this out as midnight likely. And then so we have the host being referenced and what that host is saying in quotes, and the chef saying, yes, we're going to cover all of this. And then at 15 seconds, we have our next chapter marker. The time is in square brackets, and then we have our making the dough chapter or title for that section. This on through your entire transcript, adding chapter markers where you feel appropriate, and then it's always good practice to include those in your video description or podcast show notes as links so people can quickly reference those. Important step to making an accessible transcript would be to add audio descriptions. Now, audio descriptions, also known as AD, by definition is a spoken narration and text description added to transcripts that describes the visual elements of a video, which allows people with vision impairments to better understand the content. It is a crucial part to make your video fully accessible. And this is another element like your timestamps that will be added in square brackets. Now you may ask, what are we describing when we talk about audio description? Well, a few things to consider would be what people are doing and changes that are happening in the scene. So that may be if a person is pointing to a chart or holding up a sign, or the scene changes from being in an office to being out on the street. So those are things you would want to describe within your transcript. Also, if you have text that goes across the screen in the video that is not spoken, you would want to include that in the transcript. And important sounds like a phone ringing or a door slamming. Now, this wouldn't be your background noise if you are in a noisy area. These are only pertinent sounds that would help someone who can't see the video better visualize what's happening. Now, since you haven't seen our fictitious pizza video, let me add some AD to it to help you better visualize the scene. Here is our fully edited and fully accessible transcript. We've ensured our grammar and punctuation is good to go. We've indicated who our speakers are. We've added our timestamps and chapter markers, and we've included some audio description to help those with vision and hearing impairments have a better experience. So let's take a listen one last time to how a screen reader is going to present this to those using assistive technology.
Midnight introduction. Host, welcome, pizza lovers. Today, we're showing you how to make the ultimate homemade pizza. The host smiles and gestures towards a table with pizza ingredients. Chef, that's right. We'll cover everything from dough to toppings. 0015 making the dough. 0015 host, first, let's talk about the dough. We're using a simple recipe. 0020 chef, you'll need flour, water, yeast, salt, and olive oil. 0030 host, here's the flour. The host holds up a bowl of flour. And now, the water. 00:45 Chef, remember, the water should be lukewarm to activate the yeast. 1 o'clock the chef mixes the ingredients in a bowl. 1:05 Host, and now, we knead the dough. This is important for a good crust. 1:15 the chef kneads the dough on a floured surface. 1:30 Chef, you want it smooth and elastic, like this. 1:45 the chef demonstrates the texture of the dough. 2 o'clock Host, now, we let it rise. We'll cover it and let it sit for about an hour. 2:10 the dough is placed in a bowl and covered with a cloth. 2:15 preparing the sauce. 2:15 Chef, while the dough rises, let's make the sauce. 2:30 Host, we're using crushed tomatoes, garlic, and herbs. 2:45 the host adds ingredients to a saucepan. 3 o'clock Chef, a little sugar helps balance the acidity of the tomatoes. 3:15 the saucepan simmers on the stove. 3:30 Host, and don't forget the basil. The host adds fresh basil. It adds a great flavor. 3:45 adding the toppings. 3:45 Chef, now for the fun part, toppings. 4 o'clock Host, we're using pepperoni, mushrooms, and bell peppers. 4:15 the host lays out the toppings on the counter. 4:30 Chef, first, we stretch out the dough. 4:45 the chef stretches the dough into a pizza crust. 5 o'clock Host, then, we add the sauce. The host spreads the sauce on the crust, and the cheese. 5:15 the chef sprinkles mozzarella cheese on the pizza. 5:30 Chef, now, the toppings. Feel free to get creative. 5:45 the host and chef arrange the toppings on the pizza. 6 o'clock baking the pizza. 6 o'clock Host, into the oven it goes. We're baking at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. 6:15 the pizza is placed in the oven. 6:30 Chef, it should take about 15 to 20 minutes. 6:45 the timer beeps. 7 o'clock Host, and here it is. Our homemade pizza. 7:15 the host pulls the pizza out of the oven. The pizza looks golden brown with melted cheese and toppings. 7:30 tasting and conclusion. 7:30 Chef, looks delicious. 7:45 Host, let's give it a try. The host cuts a slice of pizza. 8 o'clock Chef, perfect crust and flavor. 8:15 Host, thanks for joining us. Enjoy your homemade pizza. 8:18 the host and chef wave goodbye.
And that is it. Now, you haven't even seen our fictitious homemade pizza video, but you can now probably visualize what that video might have looked like. Okay, so you have your transcript all formatted and ready to go. How and where do you share it? You want to start by saving it as a text file .txt, in HTML, or as a .doc. These are going to be the easiest formats for someone using assistive technology to access and interact with it. And of course, where are we sharing this? You already know to put it in your video descriptions or include it in your podcast show notes. But you can also include it on your website, in your email campaigns, and anywhere else that you're sharing this content. If someone needs a transcript in order to interact with your content, make it easy for them. Don't make them go into the video, into the description, click on the transcript button, and then download it from there. Give them a link directly to it. That's just going to improve their experience with your brand. We've done a lot of work, our transcript is ready to go, and we know how to make a great homemade pizza. I don't know about you, but I am starving, and we will be having pizza at our house tonight. And that's it. That's how you make an accessible transcript. Hopefully you can see the impact that it can have on your users, potential clients, fans, and followers, and the experience that they'll have with your content. I challenge you, go out and take a look at the transcript for your last podcast or video and see what it looks like. Start to learn what your editor is going to do for you and where you need to step in to make improvements. If you're interested in learning about the accessibility services that we offer, check the description below. And don't forget to download your monthly content accessibility checklist. It's a free download and it's a great place to start to learn how to make your content more inclusive. Until next time, go out there and make it more accessible. Bye.